The following podcast contains spoilers for Vaya, a South African film that isn't District 9. You have been warned!
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another KFR News Radio. This is my name, in which is Glenn.
My name is Jeff.
Jamin. Glenn, my last name is Jammin. How you doing, everybody? This is also Miguel,
Hello.
whose also name is Magusto.
That was the most clumsy intro you've ever done, and I'm here for it.
I loved it.
How you doing, Glenn?
I'm living the dream every day. I wake up and I'm not in a dream anymore, and it makes me sad.
You were in rare form today, Glenn.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. But as you know, last week you disappointed me with the amount of movies you watched. Are you disappointing me again this week?
Oh, I absolutely will.
Oh, God.
But in a good way.
Oh.
That's bad.
Oh, God.
What is the beginning of this already?
I don't know. I love it, though. Keep going.
I did watch one movie. You did see it. You did compliment on it. Or not compliment, but commented on it. Maybe you complimented. I don't know. But I'll get into that in a minute. But besides that, I watched one other movie. But I did finish a show and got through another episode of a show. So let me just go ahead and just remark on those. I finally finished Bly Manor. Dear Christ. It was a slow burn because I didn't want to watch it. So
same situation as a haunted house or a Hill House.
They didn't. How do I explain this? It didn't. It was more home conflictions than it was show conflictions. So when I go downstairs, the dog wants to fucking play. And when I'm trying to watch a show, that's not easy. But I'm trying to watch it with my roommate, and he doesn't give up. So it's tough. But if I were to try to rewatch it again by myself, actually trying to get a hold of it, I would actually say I like this season a hell of a lot more because it calmed down all the shit that's going on in the mansion. They had so much stuff, they had so many people, so many situations going on. In this one, it was just two kids and four people really that were in this mansion. They were caretakers and stuff like that. So it was
simplified it down.
It was much more condensed, and then they kind of pepper some stuff throughout the series there, or the whole running. But the ending is where it actually, the last two episodes were really good actually. And made it much better for me than the first season altogether, which is dope. I'm glad I actually liked it. I actually watched. I'm oh, okay. I don't really have to shit talk on this one. This is good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm still iffy about watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend it. Don't go in high hopes, but I liked it more than I thought I would, which is good.
Yeah, that's always good.
And then after that, I finally got around to... I don't remember if I said I watched Mandalorian last week.
You did to me. I don't think you did on the podcast. I could be wrong about that, though.
So I cranked out 3 episodes, which they only have 3 right now. 3 episodes of Mandalorian. The first 2, they're okay. They're whatever. But the third one is actually pretty decent. Actually one of the better ones out of the 4 that me and Mike actually like.
Yeah.
I have my problems with it along with Mike too, but I'm really hoping they step forward as a series instead of taking this filler episode by filler episode, the journey that they take. And my cousin actually made a comment on it that actually kind of blew my mind in a way. He's like, yeah, man, I mean, because he kind of likes the show. He's not a Star Wars fan or anything. He's just yeah, I like it because it's kind of like a cartoon where each episode's just an adventure.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? That kind of blows my mind that you just said that. But
I get that mindset, and I have no problem with that mindset. But when it comes to live action things that have this... The problem with that thought process is that they already established a plot line throughout the series. It's not like it's just the adventures of Mando. It's a continuation of a story, but they go off course so goddamn much. I like if there was no, God forbid, no Baby Yoda, or they resolved that in the first episode, even a 2-part episode, I'd be fine with.
Yeah.
But the problem is that they've created a plot line, they've established a plot line that eventually, hopefully, will be finished. But then keep going off course. And when you do that with a series, you end up with a series like Lost, which yes, most people love, but it does not have an ending that's nearly as like airtight as it could be, because there's so much bullshit that you fill in with filler episodes. And that's my problem with it. I have no problem if it's just like episodic.
Yeah.
But you've already established a plot line. Stick to the plot line.
Yeah, they've got the whole thing there, and that's what kills me is like it is a good show. Like I'll give it that, but it's
extremely
episode,
well made, and I do enjoy watching it. But it doesn't wow me.
Yeah, I've gotten shit for what I'm about to say, and I'm sure I'll get it in the future too. Like each episode doesn't feel like an original episode in each way. They're like, well, nothing's really original anymore. I'm like, okay, but they could try.
That's not true. I mean, like, yes, everything is essentially either the Bible or some Shakespearean play.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's no, but you can make it feel original. That's the thing.
But like, besides all that, it was a good episode. The first 2 were give or take. But I mean, this season's already looking at least a little better, as long as they stay the course of like keeping it interesting, keeping it good, even throwing some humor in there like they did the last couple episodes of the first season.
Yeah.
It could be a good show. I'm not exactly giving high hopes like I did the first one, but here we are.
Yeah, and here we are.
The movie that I watched, besides the one we watched together, not in the same room, sadly, but was The Founder with Michael Keaton, about basically the air quotes founder of McDonald's, which there is no air quotes there. He actually was, but not the actual technical. He was just the dickhead who robbed it.
Yeah, he stole McDonald's, essentially. And unfortunately, he stole it legally just because he took advantage of people.
Yeah.
I enjoy that movie. It's not a movie you really can watch often just because it does kind of piss you off. But I think everyone's great in it. John Carroll Lynch and, oh God, why am I forgetting his name? Nick Offerman. They're great as the brothers that had the original. And then you got Michael Keaton's great, as usual. It's a solid movie. I do enjoy it.
Yeah, it was really funny. You messaged me. You're like, "Oh, The Founder, huh?" Because you saw that I was watching. I'm like, "Yeah." You're like, "Why are you watching?" I'm like, "I'm really hungry for a burger, and I'm gonna torture myself with this now."
Yeah, and it's not like we're in a pandemic that closes even restaurants that would be open 24 hours.
Yep.
To not be 24 hours.
so like I was watching that, and I mean it was really good. I mean everybody was great in it. I mean at the end of the movie, even during the whole movie, you're just like, this guy's a fucking dickhead.
Yeah.
And like it's crazy to sit there and think like this is how we got McDonald's, was one dude, one American man robbing the American dream of 2 other American men. Welcome everybody. And this is how we know McDonald's now, this huge franchise from just this one dude. Which it could have been, it still was going to eventually be a chain of McDonald's like burger places, but like he up and brought it to what it is obviously now, which is
absolutely.
And it's crazy how much he robbed them of like the chain worth of what it is now.
Yeah.
But I watched that. That was fantastic. Probably one of the only characters to ever rob Patrick Wilson of his lady. Think about that for a second.
Yeah, Patrick Wilson's usually the one doing the robbing.
And so there we go. Besides Vaya, which we watched, Mike, what did you get into, my little baby boy?
Oh, I watched a total of 14 movies, including two rewatches. The first one I watched was The Dark and the Wicked, which is a horror movie directed by the same gentleman who did The Monster, which we talked about during our Spooktacular. Honestly, a lot of the same problems in this as The Monster, where it's slow burning but doesn't have a payoff. It's got fantastic acting. It's an interesting premise, but it's missing something.
Yeah.
It's got a really high rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't see why, except for maybe people are just starved for content at this point.
True.
But it's a okay, mediocre horror movie in my opinion. But yeah, so that's The Dark and the Wicked. Then I watched a movie with Mark Duplass and Ray Romano called Paddleton. Mark Duplass, him and his brother, every time they make a movie, his brother usually directs, I believe. It's always improvised. I believe this is one of those improvised movies where they just have like scenes and then all the dialogue's improvised. It's about this guy who's dying of cancer, and his neighbor and best friend kind of goes along on the journey with him as he tries to end his own life with medical assisted suicide. And it's a really beautiful examination of like friendship in like a tough situation and everything. It's one of those things where like I love that he does that where he improvises movies, but I feel like they'd be stronger if they were written out.
Yeah.
Just because, yes, it's realistic and people say okay like 10 times a sentence. And that's
Like
real.
me.
Yeah, and that's realistic, but it kind of detracts from the overall experience. Then I watched a movie called Spring, which is directed by the two gentlemen who directed The Endless, which we talked about on the podcast, I think, last year. And it's a sci-fi romance movie about this man who falls in love with like this immortal monster who is, most of the time she's human, but if she doesn't keep taking this medicine, she becomes a monster. And it's really cool and interesting. I really enjoyed it. That's Spring. It's free for everyone on IMDb TV. You don't have to pay anything. You'll have to watch it with ads, but hey, you get to watch a movie for free. So
Yeah.
if you're complaining about that, then you're the reason that we have so many subscription services.
Exactly.
Then I watched a movie called I See You with Helen Hunt, and it is about this. It's kind of cool. It's kind of like two movies in one, where it shows the events of the film through Helen Hunt's eyes and her family's eyes, and then halfway through, it feels like this haunted house type movie. Then halfway through, you kind of realize why it's like a haunted house, and it's not really a haunted house. But I don't want to get into much.
Yeah, without spoiling it.
Yeah, but it's like two movies combined together, and it's the same plot, so it is one movie, but it's really cool in how they do that. So I would suggest that. That's on Amazon. Then I watched Shirley with Elizabeth Moss. It's okay. It's your typical depressed author movie. It's got some interesting concepts, and Elizabeth Moss is really great. Then I watched a silent film called The Broken Butterfly. That's about this young woman who falls in love with this man. They conceive a child, as you do, and without knowing that she's pregnant, he kind of makes the tough decision, because he's in love with her, but he makes the tough decision of putting his career first and moving so he can become a music composer.
Yeah.
And it's a really beautiful film. It's only like about an hour long, but it's really great. It's 1919, called The Broken Butterfly. It's one of those movies that was lost for a very long time, and then someone just found it in someone's attic.
Nice.
And I love watching movies like that, because it's like, hey, this was almost not a thing.
Yeah.
Then I watched a movie called Greener Grass, which is like this dark comedy. But before that, I rewatched a movie called Butt Boy, which I've talked about before.
which I still have to watch.
It's fucking hilarious. I highly suggest it. I watched it with my friends Danny, Alan, and Joe. They loved it. Then I watched Greener Grass, which is like this weird, surreal, dark comedy that is hard to describe. It's kind of like The Stepford Wives, but if The Stepford Wives was made by comedians and really strange and out there and horrifying in a way. Stepford Wives is horrifying, but you get what I'm saying. It's funny. I enjoy it. It's got Beck Bennett of SNL, but it's also got Jocelyn DeBoer, who also directed it, and Dawn Lueba. She also directed it. I suggest it. It's a fun movie. Then I watched Vaya. We'll get to that in a second. Then I watched Wade in the Water, which is the closest movie I've ever seen to my own movie, Eugene versus Humanity. And the entire time I was watching it, I was just like, please don't go in the direction I think you're going, because then it makes me look like I stole it.
Yeah.
And it didn't. It did not go in that direction, thankfully. But it's about this guy who was this large man. That's doesn't have much to do with Eugene vs. Humanity, but he is a very large man, and he was sexually abused as a kid, and he finds out this pedophile shares a post office box right next to him, and then he stalks him and kills him, and then his daughter meets him, and yeah, I'm not going to get into too much else, but then I watched a movie called James versus His Future Self. It's about a guy whose future self comes to time travel and forces him to do different things so his life doesn't suck so much. Interesting. It was fun. It has Daniel Stern from Home Alone. That was probably the best part about it. Then I rewatched The Road, which is phenomenal. I love that movie. And then I watched a movie called The Night Eats the Sky, Eats the World. Sorry, The Night Eats the World. And it's a zombie movie, a French zombie movie, but also Norwegian, but the entire thing's in English. It's a good movie. I enjoyed it. And then I watched today The Phoenix Incident, which is a found footage alien movie that was okay. You know, it was too much overacting in my opinion, where the thing that really sells found footage things is realistic acting, and this was just like, oh, I could tell you're acting right now. But the concept was interesting. So, you know.
It's crazy how many movies you watch. I have no idea what they are. Or just never have heard of them.
That's because I'm trying to find things I've never watched before.
Yeah.
That's hard to do. But yeah, those are all the movies I watched. Just those few. But let's get into some news. Glenn, I have news. Do you have news?
I do have kind of news. It's kind of not in the way that I should actually say it's news. It's more just rumors. So
okay.
You want to get into yours first?
It might be the same as mine, where it is just rumors, but Mads Mikkelsen is in talks to replace Johnny Depp as Grindelwald in Fantastic Beasts 3. I love Mads Mikkelsen. As soon as I saw that headline, I sent it to you.
And directly to me, and I said, please, dear Lord.
Please, dear Lord. So,
and I was like, maybe I might actually watch those movies now.
Yeah, I mean, I like them better than the Harry Potter movies because they're less cheesy, and also it's got the greatest character in all of the Harry Potter things, which is Standby. It is played by Dan Fogler, and the character's name is Jacob Kowalski, and he is by far the best character of any Harry Potter because he's actually got depth. He's a human. He's not a witch, but he's got depth, and it's not just like one dimensional. But I love that character. And
you're also kind of like sucked into that world because isn't Caitlin a huge like Harry Potter fan?
Yes, so I'm kind of forced to.
I don't have to do that. I think I've only watched the 4 Harry Potter movies and then stopped.
I think because of Jacob Kowalski, I'm invested in this. If it weren't for Jacob Kowalski, I wouldn't give a shit. But I'm interested in his character, especially what happened in the end of the second one. But yeah, Mads Mikkelsen replacing Johnny Depp. I love that personally.
Yep, I do too. I love that man, and I wish he was in more things.
Likewise.
Even though it's not really anybody's fault, I don't think really.
So is that your news, or you got other news?
It was not, because I had a feeling you were going to pick that one. For me, mine is going to be Keanu Reeves' Constantine 2 is happening.
Ooh.
But, like, I don't know why there's not, like, air quotes. It's more like a rumor. Appearing, Jesus Christ, Glenn. 2 words of the same vocabulary you just said twice. According to Peter Stormare, who played Lucifer in Constantine, apparently it's a thing that's happening.
Peter Stormare is another one of those actors who doesn't get enough work.
Yeah, exactly. He says it's happening. I haven't really seen any like actually things that says yes, this is, besides like an article that says Peter Stormare said it was, but like not anybody else. So like anybody out there can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always wanted this to happen. I loved the first Constantine. Keanu Reeves. It might not have been like a lot of people didn't. Well, I won't even say that. A good chunk of people didn't like it because it wasn't that related to the DC Comics version of Constantine.
Do people not know what the word adaptation means?
Yeah, apparently not.
It's not. It doesn't mean copy and paste.
Like there was. It's so funny because like on Screen Rant, I've seen like 3 articles. One about how it's happening. One about how fans of Constantine don't want this movie to happen, and then one about fans of Constantine want this movie to happen. Yeah, it's like they cater to everybody, and it's so fucking annoying
because they don't have any guts.
Even if you were a diehard like fan of the Constantine comic books. That movie was fantastic, completely underrated in my opinion. A lot of people loved it.
I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it. And just seeing, obviously they should have done it sooner, considering it's 15 years later. But I'm hoping they actually do it. Obviously, I would love to see good old Keanu jumping back in as Constantine. Imagine Shia LaBeouf as an angel now.
Oh,
and
yeah.
what he looks like, the buffest angel in the world. But yeah, I'm excited for that. If it actually is going to happen, obviously we'll air quotes report on if it's going to happen. In the future. So yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So those are our news little bits for this week. I guess we should get into Vaya.
Uma ungamela kude uzomshweba. Hey wena, ungilalele yini?
Ngoba sikhe ekhaya phela lapha. Singakhuluma ukuthi indoda iyagwazwa lapha. Igwazelwe nje 5 rand kuphela.
Xolo bhuti. Ingabe khona indawo yofihla ikhaya neseduzane?
Yabona ifune imali. Siningi indawo zokuhlala.
Kufanele ukuthi umpadreke jo. Kumele wenze sure ukuthi ubone idimas lakhe.
Bheka sibala. Tweetlip. Nayi, yakaya. Mina nawe siyazi. Amelanga mokhafe for umntwana.
Vaya. 3 people board the train bound to Johannesburg. Strangers, each in their own mission with a simple task to complete and in search of family to help them. But when they are betrayed by the very people whose protection they sought, they find themselves trapped in the city, invisible and alone.
It is directed by Akin Amatoso. Oh, by the way, I apologize beforehand for butchering these names. It is written by Craig Friedman, Balira Labekung, Anthony Mafella, David Mayoka, Madoda Nathuli, Harriet Perlman, and Robbie Thorpe. It is starring Warren Masamola, Harriet Manamela, Nendisi Shabangu, and Sheila Chaba. I'm struggling so hard. Not as much as you.
I'm not going to lie. I'm not even going to try most of these names.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to butcher them so bad. It looks terrible.
Yeah, it is a South African film, as we established in the beginning, and kind of reminded me a bit of movies like Vantage Point and Crash.
Yeah, I was thinking
where
the same thing.
It is a whole bunch of different plot lines that are intertwined more so than it is one fluid film. And I enjoyed it for the most part. I thought it was a solid film with really good acting. Specifically from the caretaker of the one character's daughter. I realize how vague that is. Unfortunately, I don't remember her name, and there is no images to help us out.
Yeah, no, that's a pain in the ass. Holy shit.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a caretaker of the one woman's daughter. She's the one of the ones that she's like the first one that gets lost in the city, where her ward's mother does not come to pick her up, so she's like trying to get funds. But she was incredible, I thought, and especially with showing the fear of being a single woman lost in this city that has so many gangs, as it were, but I thought this was a great examination of like just how. And this is a universal thing, how naive country folk can be when going to the city.
Yeah.
And it's not something that people in the city should be proud of, but like people in cities often take advantage of country folk. And it's a shame really, because they're just expecting people to treat them with humanity, and they just get treated like shit instead.
Yeah.
And when they do get treated with humanity, it's because they were intimidated by a gang member, essentially. Yeah. Which is really depressing and sad, and really universal, because it kind of goes. I mean, you and I both live close enough to Philly where we're not country folk, but we're not city folk either. So we kind of have both edges.
Yeah, we're in
our
between
personality. There. Yeah, where like if we go to the city, we can let people not fuck with us. But if we go to the country, we know to be polite and reserved. So,
yeah.
But what did you think?
I definitely liked the aspect of the three different people. It was all really closely connected.
Yeah.
And
I think they're all in the final scene,
yeah.
so
And
that's just how
it's-
connected it is.
Yeah, and they're all obviously all strangers they've never met before. Besides like being on the stream, but they haven't actually officially met. Like characters pass each other and they know each other. Like not know each other, but they obviously you'll see them later, which is really cool. Like you get that. I'm like, I just saw that guy. Holy shit, my mind is blown right now. That was really cool. Like you said, I definitely liked the acting in most of it. Madoda was a very intimidating guy in there.
He was
and,
the main gang member, right?
yeah.
The kind of chubby one.
Yeah, he was the. I was
Yeah.
gonna say, the one that got shot a lot eventually.
Yeah.
Well, there were spoilers anyway, so it didn't really matter. But I wish I could remember the one dude's name who ended up getting involved with the gang that shot Madoda.
Zolani's cousin.
Yes.
Because I know Zolani, because Zolani is played by Warren Masamola. He's essentially Madoda's rival gang leader. Warren Masamola has been in a lot of American movies like The Dark Tower, Eye in the Sky, Machine Gun Preacher. He's probably the most well known out of all these actors. He's in the other South African movie I saw called Five Fingers for Mosai, which is a great movie. But he's the most well known, and he's a very intimidating guy too. He's completely bald, no eyebrows.
Yep.
But
Fierce
yeah,
look in his eyes.
I forget what his cousin's name is as well.
Yeah,
And again,
I like his story for sure.
yeah. Unfortunately, they don't have pictures on IMDb, so it's kind of hard for us to pinpoint. I want to say it was Nilanla is the character, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was like the perfect epitome where the caretaker of the girl, she kind of knew that people would fuck with her, but also was very polite and very country-esque.
Yeah.
But Zolani's cousin was like the archetype of the country folk who just thinks everyone has other people's best interests in mind and aren't trying to take advantage. He was the most naive of them all and got into the most shit because of it, and it was really heartbreaking. He had a really heartbreaking plot and
from
character line.
start to end.
Yeah.
Really did.
Yeah.
And then of course we have the other one, which I'm sorry, I should have paid more attention to names, but they're very tough.
Yeah, I want to say it's Jabu, but I'm not sure without pictures.
But he came to the city looking for his basically his father's body. I guess he died at work. I don't exactly remember what from.
I think he worked in a mine and got crushed in a mine. I remember him going to the place saying he was picking up his father's body, which is weird that you would pick it up in the place that it died, but I guess that is normal for South Africa. But yeah, I think he was crushed in the mine and kind of taken out. But
his is the only one that I wish kind of had more work with it.
Yeah, it was kind of
more connection to like Madoda. Like I wish they would have like. There was attempts, like he tried to, and then Madoda was being that force he was. He's like, you need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Because it turns out Madoda was actually his, I guess,
half brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the father who died had many wives apparently, and at least
families.
two. At least two. So I mean, I wish they would have had more connection, more ways to try to like, in a way, humanize Madoda a little bit. With that connection between the two, that would have been pretty cool. But I mean, I'm not exactly saying it was bad that they didn't. It was just kind of his plot line, in my opinion, meant the least because he was just kind of walking around the city the whole time.
I agree. I think if they had him have like a really powerful scene with Madoda, which he might have had he not been shot in the end.
Yeah.
It felt the most underdeveloped. It felt like they were trying to struggle to lengthen it, and they said, "Oh, what if this guy just has the same father but different mother as Madoda?"
Yeah.
It definitely felt the most underdeveloped, but still an interesting concept. It definitely could have been handled a lot better and more fully. But it also, I don't think, detracted too much from the film overall.
Like it was fine, but like it didn't really do much for you, to be honest.
Yeah.
He was there. He took some screen time, but it wasn't a waste of your screen time,
Yeah, exactly.
And then
it more serviced Madoda's character than it did his own. But it was also told from his perspective and not Madoda's, which made it, I don't want to say confusing, but it was definitely just like, that's it, in a way.
And because if you didn't have that aspect, Madoda's character would just be like this guy you from other people that he's a bad guy. He kills people. He's been an intimidating stance the whole time, but not really. He never really showed anything that he did bad. But you just heard from word of mouth that this dude's bad and he looks bad.
Yeah, and just from the guy who kind of takes in the child and caretaker in the beginning. Just from how he completely changes his tone from "you're going to pay me" to "no, don't worry, it's the right thing to do." As soon as he sees Madoda, was a great sign that Madoda was a dangerous man.
Honestly, it's tough for me to really come up with other things to really say about this. Like it.
Yeah, same.
It was a good movie. The acting was great. It was good to see a South African film. I've only seen maybe 2, and so it was good to see another one. I think you've seen obviously a couple more than me.
I'm not including Neil Blomkamp movies. I've only seen one other one.
Yeah,
but with Neil Blomkamp, which I don't even know if you could call them South African. I'm pretty sure they're shot in South Africa, but they might be American produced or whatever.
But I mean, it's kind of tough to really say more about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's a solid movie. It's kind of in line with Crash and Vantage Point,
and even that one Brad Pitt one that I can't think of the name.
Babel.
Yeah,
which I haven't seen, but I know it's like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a solid movie, with intertwining plots.
And it was kind of just it was long enough to where it didn't make you lose interest. It's 2 hours, but it didn't really feel, to me at least, like 2 hours long.
Yeah.
It felt like a good hour and a half.
I started drifting probably at the hour mark, but then came back in maybe 10, 15 minutes later. But it's minuscule compared to how it could have been with a foreign film.
So to most people who think 2 hours is a really long time, it doesn't really feel like it. So that's a nice thing.
Yeah.
If you want to take that as you will.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I got to say.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, so that brings us to the judgment. Glenjamin Button, I am going to ask you if this should be on the shelf first, because I'm torn a bit. Obviously, I enjoyed it, but I want to hear your thoughts before making my call.
This one's tough. I wasn't in love with this movie.
Yeah,
but it wasn't a bad movie. It was a good movie. I liked the acting in it. I do like the concept of multiple paths intertwining, and stuff like that. But I feel I don't think it gave me enough there to procure a position on a shelf. Really, I did like it. Yada yada. All I just said, but. I don't know. It could have had more juice to it,
Yeah.
More. Not how do I say, excitement in a way, but it's not in a bad way. It's a good movie. It's not going to waste your time. It's definitely a good watch. But I feel other than that, it's a good movie. Good watch.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's everything you just said. Good movie, nothing great. It doesn't really stick out. I'll remember it, but I don't think I'll probably ever watch it again. Having seen another film like Five Fingers from Versailles or Marseille, I know South Africa can bring the heat when it comes to movies. I mean, that one's just pretty good. It's not great, but I know that there are better movies from South Africa out there. So I think I'm going to have to say no at this juncture, but it is a solid movie and I do think people should check it out.
Yeah, like I said, it's not a waste of your time. It's a good watch. If you want to watch a movie just you're just chilling, this is it. But I mean, it's not a above and beyond movie.
Yeah. So, Vaya does not make it onto the shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. That brings us to our plugs for next week. Glenn Jamin Button.
Yeah,
What is your plug for next week? Or this week?
I'm gonna plug you all what I'm going to watch tonight. Honestly, I'm gonna watch Constantine. I don't know exactly what platform you can watch that on, but I'm gonna watch it, and I kind of want you guys to watch it because I'm just so excited about Constantine. Like, I'm not kidding when I say I do love it. Let me look it up real quick for you guys. It's on HBO Max. I'm sure it's like on Amazon somewhere. You could probably rent it too, obviously. But there you. It's Keanu, dude.
It's Keanu.
Rachel Weisz and baby Shia
Rachel
LaBeouf.
Weisz. Rachel Weisz. Oh, Rachel Weisz.
She looks so good in this
She's
movie.
my first
she's
crush.
Phenomenal actress.
My first crush in Hollywood was her, and honestly, probably still is. But so that is Constantine. You don't know where to watch it, but watch it.
Yes. Just stop. You know you're going to.
What if I told you that God and the devil made a wager for the souls of all mankind? No direct contact with humans. That would be the rule. Just influence. See who would win.
Demons stay in hell. Angels in heaven.
They call it the balance.
I need to see what you see.
You do this, there's no turning back. You see them. They see you. Understand?
Yeah. My plug for this week, there is a fun, new, chaotic sketch show on Netflix called Auntie Donna's Big Ol' House of Fun. It is a Australian sketch trio, and they probably just took acid and wrote some skits, and that's what this is about.
Sounds like what I would do.
No, I don't think they're just got really absurd humor.
Yeah.
But if you're like me, and I know you like it as well, if you like I Think You Should Leave, you should check this out because this is like I Think You Should Leave on speed.
Yep.
Which is wonderful, and that is on Netflix. Also, they have a YouTube channel where you can watch a bunch of their old sketches. So just Auntie Donna's Big Ol' House of Fun in general. Auntie Donna's, they're
All right.
great. So that is on Netflix.
Great. Who's next?
We got to just hang on, Zach. You've gone low res.
Oh my God! How embarrassing! I'm sorry.
Did you have something strange for lunch?
No. I just have really poor internet quality at my place.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
We can carry on though if you're happy to.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, it usually gets better again pretty quickly.
We're going on a date! Who wants to drive? Damn it! I'm ready to party!
Every time I open anything, it sounds like a man saying the word creak.
Creek.
See?
Creaky door. Satire. Parody. Boom. And clever wordplay. We're out of sync.
Don't worry, Zach. Things might be looking kind of glum now, but they'll be right as rain in no time.
Jesus Christ! What is that? Fucking thing on your fucking...
That brings us to our assignment for next week. Benjamin Button, the spooky season is past. Thanksgiving is upon us this week that this comes out. What is after this week? After Thanksgiving? We have the Jingle
Cyber
Jangle
Monday.
season.
Oh.
Well, that too. But we have the Jingle Jangle season, which is started by Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and all those other capitalist shrines. But I decided we should get into a little Christmas spirit or holiday spirit and watch a film that was nominated for Best Animated Feature last year in the Academy Awards called Klaus.
Oh.
It is directed by Sergio Pablos and Carlos Martinez Lopez. It is written by Sergio Pablos and Jim Mahoney and Zach Lewis. It is starring the voices of Jason Schwartzman, J.K. Simmons, Rashida Jones, and Will Sasso. And it is a simple act of kindness always sparks another, even in a frozen, faraway place. When Smearensburg's new postman,
Glenn?
Jesper, befriends toy maker Klaus, their gifts melt an age-old feud and deliver a sleigh full of holiday traditions. So I believe it's just a movie about mailmen and Santa Claus putting their differences aside for Christmas.
I like the cast.
Yeah, I do too. It's got Norm Macdonald in there too, Joan Cusack, a whole bunch of people, and it was nominated for best animated feature at the Academy Awards, which I am of the opinion that anyone that is not Disney in those in those categories are always better than the Disney counterparts. But no one ever watches them, so Disney ends up winning.
Bastards.
But that is Klaus, and that is on Netflix. That is our assignment for next week.
All right.
Hello? Jesper Johansson, postman. Mr. Klaus, you have a gift. You were meant for making toys. So I figured if you donate your old toys, I'll deliver them for free.
Tonight, I go with you.
There's no need for you to come with me, really. Tonight, then.
Our cousin told us if we write a letter to Mr. Klaus, he'll make us a toy. Dear Mr. Klaus. Dear Mr. Klaus.
Shall we then?
Yep.
Mr. Klaus is the coolest.
Klaus? What about me? Ow! What the loser? Oh yeah. Well, if I'm a loser, then you're too far. You're gone.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have yourself a wonderful Thanksgiving. Remember to social distance and whatnot if you can. And you can check out our website, KeystoneFilmReview.com. On Instagram, we are Keystone_Film_Review. Twitter, Keystone_Film. Facebook, Keystone Film Review. YouTube, Keystone Film Review. And on Letterboxd, I am Mike KFR.
And I am Glenn KF Bloob.
And that will do it until next week when we finally get the cats out off our tongues. So, bye, everybody.
Bye. Meow.